He thought, to quote James cleverly, that this whole Rwanda plan was basically, frankly, batshit and a waste of money. He kept...
Apologies to Bats.
It's apologies to Bats. He basically, as Chancellor, repeatedly questioned whether it would be value for money, repeatedly said, is this going to work? You ask Priti Patel and she will tell you, privately and publicly, that he was a big obstacle to it.
Look at this poll, this YouGov poll today, guys. It says the number of people in the country who believe the PM's Rwanda plan is going to work, it's a grand total of 1%. Now, that figure kind of sticks out. And you do have to wonder how many inside government, tell me what you think, and on the government side of the House really believe that it could work. Tell me, Paul, give me a sense of those conversations on what we call lobby terms. So at Westminster, you can't name who you're talking to, but in exchange, they're meant to be more frank. What do they say about whether they really believe in the Rwanda plan that's been the centre of all of the hoo-ha this week?
I think, to be fair to a lot of the Conservative MPs, they want it to happen. They're not saying
it's
that
not quite the same with believing it will.
No, they want it to happen. And not many of them actually think it will happen, but that's partly because then you get into the conversation, well, that will be the court's fault. It's not our fault for trying, but it's the courts who will bog it down. So they're kind of realistic. They know that, in a way, this is performative, all this politics, but they want to send a strong signal to the voters that they're actually trying to do something with this very difficult problem. But you're right. Look, the currency of Kate and I's world and your former world, John, is we talk off the record to MPs. The reason we do that is not to allow someone just to knife someone in private or to,
we like that too.
We do like a bit of backstabbing, but it's mainly because you want to get at what they really think. Yeah. And obviously you can't say on the record with your name attached to it something that's very, damaging to your own party. And that happens in both parties. It's certainly true. Sunak was right about that. Is Sunak's own journey on this issue. He was a real sceptic when he was in the Chancellor, when he was in the Treasury as Chancellor. He thought, to quote James cleverly, that this whole Rwanda plan was basically, frankly, batshit and a waste of money. He kept...
Apologies to Bats.
Apologies to Bats. He basically, as Chancellor, repeatedly questioned whether it would be value for money, repeatedly said, is this going to work? You ask Priti Patel and she will tell you, privately and publicly, that he was a big obstacle to it. But what's happening, he's radicalised himself because... Yes. This what's really interesting is this Prime Minister, this technocrat, has sat down and thought, I'm looking at this problem, and he came to the conclusion, and crucially some of the aides around him, who again were quite sceptical, have come to the conclusion that this is the only way they can make it work. So there is a minority who think it could work, but they're in Downing Street. But equally, we're talking about off-the-record conversations, I've talked to ministers who basically roll their eyes and say, this is never going to work. Yeah. And they will then immediately say, why is it not going to work? It's the bloody Home Office. Nothing works in the Home Office. That's a fact of Whitehall life. Everyone outside the Home Office thinks they're a basket case.